talk a little bit about the very first position in Seiunchin. When I teach Kata or break it down in the advanced level for any of my students, it's got 4 categories. It's got movement, position, principle, and tactic. Those are how I break down everything within my own goju. So as you can see on the movement side, so let me back up for a second. The first movement, I'm talking about the variation where you are here with the movement and you've stepped out roughly 45 degrees in Shikodachi. So this is just from that movement and that ending position. This is all of this information is just from that. So the literal movement, the stepping 45 degrees, is triangulation. That's a term that I use by stepping forward in 45, because it's actually, I consider that an active, aggressive, evasive maneuver, but it can be obviously a myriad of things. So as far as position goes, so this position here, so you've got what's going on internally and position-wise. You've got the shoulder, which is utilizing depression, which is the shoulder, the scapula being pressed down and the shoulder being pressed down. Then you have what's called horizontal adduction, ADD, with slight protraction. So the arm in this position, the arm being slightly forward and inward a little bit, that is called horizontal adduction. And then with the slight protraction. Remember, protraction is the shoulder slightly coming forward. Then you have the shoulders in the scaption plane. So there's multiple planes when it comes to anatomical position, but there's a kind of a 45-degree plane that's kind of referred to as the scaption plane in PT. One of my private goju students is actually a PT, a professional PT, physical therapist. So to make sure that I'm always using the right terminology in my own studies and everything, I have a lot of this work and stuff checked so that it is absolutely correct. So this may not be an exhaustive list, but the goal is not to just have a bunch of things just to talk about. It's the main things that are going on in the positions. So the shoulders in the scaption plane, and then you have there's elbow flexion, you have a neutral forearm, neutral wrist and hand, and the spine is relatively neutral whenever you're in the position. So then we get to principles. None of these are an exhaustive list. This is just a basic thing just from that single position. So you've got constant pressure through the elbow and slightly forward. The best way to describe how this pressure, in my opinion, should feel is if I am here, this should be creating the same pressure as if you're doing a forearm plank on the ground. You should feel that same pressure. They're literally, if someone were to walk up and push on my forearms here, they would feel residual pressure in my elbows because I'm trying to make the pressure go out at a 45-degree angle from me, and I'm actively pushing my shoulder down and away from me. So if they move me backwards, I will be a solid structure from here through my back. They won't collapse in on me, they won't go up, they won't go down. So if you get in a forearm plank or you lean against the wall, if I'm here and I'm leaning like this, that's the exact same pressure. The only difference is it's slightly down and it's going 2 directions, this way and that way. So then you have the forceful step offline. And I use the term forceful because it shouldn't be a casual just step out. The hip line, the intention of your force and your energy should be out. So if anything is standing in your way, it displaces it automatically. It doesn't mean it's explosive, it just means it's forceful. And then COG manipulation, so center of gravity manipulation, is one of the principles that are at play within just that first movement. So then we get into tactics. So some tactics are also principles. So if there's a principle that can actually do something off that, sometimes they go back and forth between principle and tactic, or they share the same space. But you have forward evasion off that initial movement. is one category of techniques that you can build off of. Then you have body/limb deflection. You have crashing, which can be with a limb or the body as well. Then you have body disruption. You can disrupt someone's balance without taking them down. You can replace your center of gravity or their center of gravity with yours by occupying and going straight through them, which is slightly different than crashing. And you have clinching. This position is amazing if you clasp someone's neck. If you get here and you anchor correctly and you have that energy going forward and you have the correct body position and that level change, which is in Seiunchin 2, that first movement is a level change at an angle. If you have that level change, which would also be considered center of gravity manipulation. So the tactic can be with over here, which would be a level change. So you have the clinch, you have escaping, you can escape various holds and things just through that first position. And then you have limb control. And clinching and limb control are similar but not exactly the same, because I can be controlling other limbs besides the neck. But clinching usually refers to clinching the neck in the way that, especially in like Greco-Roman wrestling, MMA, and in Muay Thai, and things like that. The clinch refers to at least one arm on the neck. So this is the way I like to break things down. And obviously each one of these, forward evasion, well, this doesn't tell you all the techniques that you could do from there just by going from that angle, but it gives you a specific tactic that you could focus on. So something I may do is it might be, okay, we're going to do forward evasion today and use that 45-degree literal, 45-degree movement of triangulation, and we're going to do it against, someone coming in throwing a combination, someone trying to do a kick, a front kick, or a push kick straight through us. It might be a side kick. It might be a forward evasion where I cover distance and I get inside. It could be a lot of different things. I really focus on principles and tactics more than I do on specific techniques. But you can take this and say, okay, so the premise of the drill is forward evasion, or the premise of the next drill is body or limb deflection, or we're going to do forward evasion with body and limb deflection. But it doesn't have to be complicated. You keep it as simple as possible. The way I make sure things stay simple is I follow 3 things. Simple, or 4 things. Simple, direct, effective, and repeatable. Okay? Those 4 things are principles that I always adhere to whenever I'm creating drills. It shouldn't be, in my opinion, complicated. But this is a basic rundown, and that's just from, like I said, the very first position.